Welcome back to the NYGunGuys podcast. My name is John.
My name's Taylor.
Captain Steve, is your mic on today?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Hey,
holy hell, he did it.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody. Check us out, Facebook, Instagram. Check out the other podcasts, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you get your podcast, we're probably there. If not, let us know, and we will be there. Taylor,
what's up?
What are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about the big news that broke over the past couple of weeks. I'm sure everybody already knows about it by now.
If you're from New York.
Well, yeah, if you're from New York and even around the country.
Well, definitely if you're from New York, though, because we've had some local shops posting about it almost every day. I've seen.
Yes.
So if you are from Long Island especially, but if you're from New York, you most likely have seen it on Facebook, following some of these gun groups and maybe even local stores. So, Taylor,
right.
Why don't you lead us in what's going on here?
Basically, it's the ATF getting up to their chicanery again, basically classifying weapons with stabilizing braces. They want to reclassify certain pistols that have stabilizing braces on them, generally of the AR type platform, but they're on a bunch of other different firearms as well. And they want to reclassify if they are actually pistols with braces or whether they are short-barreled rifles.
Gotcha. So
this all broke, and people started kind of getting into a frenzy and saying, oh my God, the ATF just changed the law. Pistol braces are now illegal. The letter that the ATF had put out, it said it did not carry the weight of law. It was basically them putting something out for the public to comment on and basically saying, look, this is what we're thinking. This is what we look at. This is how we examine things. What are your thoughts? So basically, in a nutshell, the ATF said, okay, we approved braces back in Obama, under the Obama administration. We approved the use of braces because originally its intent was to allow disabled people or people that might have physical mobility issues to fire an AR pistol. The original one was for an AR pistol. An AR pistol one-handed, because the AR pistol is a heavier gun. It's large. It's a little unwieldy. So this person created this device that allows you to strap it to your arm and then fire it one-handed. Because as per the definition of a pistol, it's to be fired with one hand. That's why you can't have things like forward grips on pistols. So fast forward, and companies are making braces, and they're perfectly fine, and they submit them to the ATF, and they say, yep, that's a brace, that's fine, it's good to go. Then there was a few years ago, I think 1 or 2 years ago, there was a controversy where the ATF said that you can no longer shoulder stabilizing braces because then that is not the original intent of the design. Therefore, you can't shoulder them.
This is stupid as hell. Okay, if I fire a fucking gun upside down, does that mean all of a sudden that it needs to be subject to a different law because I'm shooting it with my pinky? Right?
And that's what people were arguing. They were saying that you could put a pistol up to your shoulder and fire it, like a regular Glock or whatever. Right. You could put that up to your shoulder and fire it.
Probably hurt.
It would, but theoretically, you could fire it in any position you want.
Right.
Your original intent with the firearm, when you put the stabilizing brace on, was not to be able to shoulder fire it.
Right.
But having the brace on shouldn't prevent you from shoulder firing it because it's not a rifle, and you can fire a pistol in any way you'd like. That kind of went away over time, and I think the ATF backed off a little bit over that. And it's all about, the ATF is now getting on to intent. How you intend to use the firearm. How you intend to fire it. So this new letter that they put out basically said that certain things like optics. If you have an optic on your gun that cannot feasibly be fired with one hand, like a long scope, let's just say, where your eye relief, you need to be like 2 inches away from the scope. If you put that on an AR pistol with a brace, well then the brace, the intent of you putting that optic on was not to fire it with one hand, but to put it against your shoulder. So therefore, the ATF argues that you intend to fire it from the shoulder. Now, this becomes an issue because people have been hunting with pistols for a long time. People have used heavy revolvers with bipods on them. People put scopes on them, and they bench rest the pistol. So, I mean, the intent with that is still to shoot it with one hand, but you have a scope that...
It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Exactly.
And it's irrelevant because if I put anything on my gun, the thought that I would use it for any other purpose is like almost like a thought crime.
Right.
So maybe I just really like the way that massive scope looks on my handgun, and I just like it.
Right.
It's a thought crime to say, well, he has it on there, and so he's using it not in its intended purpose because he might shoulder it. No, that's fucking bullshit. It's a thought crime.
Right. So I'm going to read a little something from the Firearms Policy Coalition website here. This is some little blurbs that they have about it. But basically, the draft document instead purports to be intended to inform the public on how brace-equipped firearms will be examined. Based on the criteria set forth in the draft documents, it appears that the ATF would take something of a, quote, totality of the circumstances, quote, approach in determining whether a specific brace-equipped pistol is a short-barreled firearm regulated under the NFA. These criteria include the firearm's type, caliber, weight, and length, the design of the brace itself, and whether the firearm can be properly aimed when using the attachment as a brace, and whether an optic that cannot properly be used one-handed is present, i.e. something that suggests intent. The agency also indicates that it will observe the marketing of firearms and accessories as well as other more subjective factors. So, I mean, caliber is a big thing because I heard that, they said large caliber firearms shouldn't, you can't fire them with one hand.
Yeah.
But if you talk about caliber specifically, .223 is a small caliber. 500 Smith & Wesson is a large caliber. I mean, when they say I think they mean rifle, quote, rifle rounds, end quote, like 223, 308, 7.62 by 39. That's what I think when they say large caliber, end quote. To me, that is kind of subjective because there have been pistols in much more powerful rounds. There are 308 bolt action pistols.
Here's what I want to know. You ready? Are they going to go door to door and check everybody's gun?
Well, this is the whole thing.
Right, because they're saying they're going to go basically on a case-by-case basis using the totality of the circumstances, which is a legal definition.
Right.
I don't know if you know that.
Oh.
The words totality of the circumstances, that's like a law definition.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, it has to do with courts and stuff like that. In law, the totality of the circumstances refers to a method of analysis where decisions are based on all available information rather than bright line rules. So basically, them using those words is not an accident. Okay. So, but what I want to know is, are they because you could buy it without without a scope on it. So you put the scope on it because now they're saying, oh well, now that you're using it not for its intended purposes, now it becomes illegal. Who's looking into that?
Right?
And at that point, who just walks up and decides, oh, you're not using that with its intended purpose?
Well, the ATF apparently.
Yeah, but the ATF is not an organization that goes. They don't patrol and look for that type of shit. So, who determines it?
Right. And this is why, going forward, they say that if they are to evaluate, let's just say, a firearm. Let's just say, a company submits a firearm to them, and it's literally just an ATF pistol, an AR-15 pistol with a brace. If that is then approved, then they say if you, the user, put on accessories that make it such that one-handed firing is not feasible, then you have then redesigned the firearm and the intended purpose into a short-barreled rifle, which requires NFA registration. Listen, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying that's what their position is. So it now, with everything that's going on, especially with all these gun laws, like I said in the previous episode, the Biden-Harris administration got with the ATF, and basically the Biden-Harris administration said that their number one thing the two things they want to go after is the 80% and the braces.
Who said this?
Biden-Harris administration. Okay. They got with the ATF, and now, luckily, the ATF withdrew this. So people commented, people called the politicians, congressmen, whatever. People called the White House, and they withdrew it. I think I heard it was 50,000 signatures or something like that, which isn't a lot when you think about it, compared to the millions of braces that are out there, millions of brace pistols. But, this is the world we live in where, I forget who said it. Somebody, I heard it was a really good quote, where it said if somebody won't pick up a pen, they won't pick up a rifle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this affects also us in New York because of things like, let's just say, the others, which... John, you had mentioned in the episode that we did on the others, where you talked about putting a brace on a, quote, firearm and then putting a forward grip on it.
Right.
If the brace is originally there to make the firearm fired with one hand, but then you put a vertical grip on it, technically then you
Yeah.
change the intent of what that is, and therefore that could be construed as a stock.
So what I was saying was, if you do that, for example, it becomes, I believe we were talking about pistols.
Yeah.
It becomes a quote assault pistol.
Well, no. The pistol. Well, a pistol can't have a vertical grip on it anyway. But what they're saying is that this firearm could be classified as an assault pistol.
I forgot exactly what I said.
Right.
It had something to do with basically adding an extra part.
Right.
And it became like an assault, whatever it was.
Right.
And pretty much what you were saying was like, no, because it wasn't initially there. It doesn't, it doesn't become that. But they're pretty much like the ATF now is pretty much saying, yes, it would become whatever you now intended to be.
Right. With this whole bracing, it gets really confusing because obviously, let's just put it on Front Street here. Let's just be honest. Everyone knows what a brace is for.
Oh yeah,
we all. I mean,
it's to circumvent law.
It's a workaround to the law.
It's to circumvent.
It really is. I mean, don't get me wrong, but in the way the law is written, it was within the letter of the law.
Right.
So we're using the law to work for us.
Right.
I don't say us as in I don't have one, but what I'm getting at is the people, the gun-owning community.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then people got really, they started writing the ATF, oh, if I shoulder this, will it count as a stock? It's like, people, shut the fuck up, man. Like, chill.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
Now people ask for permission, and now they want to take it away from you.
Well, now what they want to do is the ATF in this letter, they said, all right, well, now if you want to register it as a short-barreled rifle, if this policy change does go through, they'll waive the tax for you to register it as an SBR, which is $200. Okay. So if you're looking to register an SBR anyway, some people were saying, well, I might as well just register them as SBRs and save myself some money, which, first of all, that's not the point. The point is that they're changing the rules of which they already said was okay.
Right.
The original brace was developed for an AR-15 pistol under the Obama administration.
Right.
So how could then they say that it's not okay to put on an AR-15 or other, quote, large caliber firearms?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense.
There's no way they didn't anticipate people to shoulder this.
I know.
There's no way.
Right. Because when I first saw that, I'm like, no, it's a stock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks like a stock.
Right.
I mean,
so the ATF put this out. People commented. People got really angry, as they should, and then they withdrew it. But it doesn't stop them from trying to pull this shit again. And especially for people in New York, let's just say, who have others. Now, this could be, they can misconstrue that now as a short-barreled rifle because the intent of it is, even though, when you got the gun, it wasn't a rifle. When you got the lower, it wasn't a rifle. It was a firearm. Okay, and it meets all these other legal definitions. But the state, they could just say, nope, that's a rifle. And then, boom. They could finally make a determination on it if they want to based on the ATF's recent clarification. Now, also, things like weight, length, and other things are extremely subjective. John, if you have an AR pistol in .308, you could fire that with one hand, right? Somebody, let's just say like your wife, who's a little more feminine than you,
okay,
can't fire it with one hand.
I don't know if that was the right word to use. I think it's feminine is not really the right word to use.
She's of smaller stature and maybe not as strong as you.
Right.
Okay.
You just, for lack... It just wasn't the right... He chose the wrong word. It's not like an insult, or it's not like weird to say, but it was just the wrong way to say it.
Okay.
You could be 6 foot tall and be jacked.
Yeah.
And fucking be feminine.
Okay. Feminine was the wrong one.
It's fucked up. Tyler.
How about, let's say...
You know what? They're going to cancel you for that.
We're going to get canceled, everybody.
No, just you. I'm going to continue.
Oh, okay. It's just the New York Gun Guy podcast.
No,
you're going to bring Steve in?
Yeah. Damn. It's fucked up. All right, anyway, what were you saying? Go ahead.
Before you made somebody who is maybe of shorter stature, who is not as strong as another person, won't be able to fire that one.
Basically, dude, someone who's like, 300 pounds of muscle is going to be able to fire a certain type of gun or round better than someone who's like 100 pounds.
Correct.
So...
Yeah. So also they determine things like length of pull.
Right.
Which length of pull is only applicable for a stock. A brace is not a stock, so therefore I don't know how they can make length of pull an applicable feature or applicable, unit of measure in this. So it gets down to things like that where they're very just ambiguous and very subjective definitions of what they're trying to do. Now, they did say that, oh, well, if you have one, and let's just say this did pass, whatever. If you do have one, you could either take the brace off, destroy the firearm, or surrender it, or register it, which, like, what?
Yeah.
Seemed a little overkill. If you paid like $2,000 for an AR pistol, and it's like, oh, here you go, I'm going to destroy it, or I'm going to surrender it. I don't think that's the way to go.
This must have had this, because I just pulled this up. It says in 2017, the ATF reversed their opinion, saying use of an unmodified arm brace as a buttstock isn't illegal.
Right.
So it must have been one way, and then they changed their mind.
Well, at first it didn't. Like, at first they didn't care how you used it, and then people were writing them, oh, can I shoulder this? Oh, can I shoulder this? And then they had to put a letter out saying, look, everyone's asking if you can shoulder it.
Like, there's a whole thing on this, man. In 2014, ATF rules against shouldering braces. 2015, ATF defends stance on illegal shouldering. 2017, they reversed it. So this has been going on for years.
It has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah. So this has been going on for years, man.
Yeah, man.
Since 2014. And as of 2020, the ATF still has not changed their last opinion, saying that it is not illegal, even though they tried. Or they floated the idea and immediately were like, okay, maybe this isn't a great idea.
Because if you built an AR pistol and your original intent wasn't to shoulder it, but let's just say you just did anyway, that's not your original intent, and it's very hard to prove intent.
And I'm very curious. Like, if I have an AR pistol, and and let's say we're in a place where I hand it to you, you shoot the gun and you shoulder it, not realizing it's a brace, or is all of a sudden now you're in violation of the law, right? So an ATF agent can just come over and cuff you and you're under arrest, right?
That's what they would want,
right? So that it doesn't make sense. It would be so messy.
Yes, it would. It would. And that's why for a while before the braces were around, they would have things like cheek rests, or they would have the buffer tube that stuck out, and people would try and put that against their shoulder. I mean, the buffer tube is an integral part of the AR-15, so you can't just get rid of that. So that's why it makes it kind of conducive to have a stock-like feature to it.
Right.
But, a lot of people in New York, AR pistols or any kind of big pistol like that in New York, we really can't have unless you're Leo because of weight, and, they make it assault pistol or whatever. But also for fixed mag pistols, people could have a fixed mag pistol in AR and they have braces on them, and this can now affect them. So, in New York, this could be a very touchy subject. And I think it's touchy actually for everyone in the country. The ATF kind of just doing what they want, kind of just going the way they want.
Well, they floated the idea, and it got a lot of backlash.
Yeah, it did. They didn't just notice that they didn't try this before November. Even though this has been something brewing for years. They didn't try this before November. Right. And I think that if Biden and Harris didn't get elected, allegedly, then they wouldn't be going after it. And I'm kind of annoyed that Trump didn't say, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, chill. Like, stop.
So this says in 2014, the ATF argued that this was illegal, the shouldering of the
brace.
Right. In 2017, they reversed their opinion and now state, quote, sporadic, incidental, or situational shouldering of a pistol is legal. So basically, it's illegal, but if you happen to do it sporadically, which means not all the time, incidentally, which means accidentally, basically, like if I handed you the gun and you did it and I was like, oh, that's not how you use it, oh, okay, no big deal. Or situationally, which means, like, I don't know, I guess in a certain situation it's just better to shoulder it and fire it. It's totally okay. But if you do it all the time, it's not okay. Like, it's just like these weird little, like, it's just, it's like,
it's all gray area. So, like, if you have John, your Glock, if you shoot it out in front of you, it's fine. But if you draw it close into you to fire, like, situationally, I'm moving around here.
Right.
If you pull it close to your chest and fire it because the situation depends, technically it's on your shoulder, it's on your chest.
Sure.
So the same thing applies into the AR pistol.
They just don't like that they were outsmarted this time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I get it.
And now there's all these different brace designs, and then one of them was recently deemed to be a short-barreled rifle because, from what I heard, I think it was the SBA-3 brace. They didn't submit it for ATF quote approval, and they released it on a firearm, and then the ATF came back and said, no, that's a stock, you didn't approve it or whatever. So then they had to get a recall. I think it was like the Honey Badger Q or something like that, if I remember correctly. That was the name of the firearm. They're just going after small people. Now with the polymer lowers, the Polymer80, you heard about that. What happened with that? Correct?
No, I'm just reading something in 2015 that the ATF basically said that the pistol stabilizing brace was neither designed nor approved to be used as a shoulder stock, and therefore use as a shoulder stock constitutes a, quote, redesign of the device because the possessor has changed the very function of the item. Which, no, you're not modifying it anyway. You're just using it in a different way, right?
Right.
So I don't know if that's really considered a redesign of the functionality. Then it goes on to say any individual letters stating otherwise are contrary to plain language of the NFA. This just goes into like a bunch of letters that people wrote. But basically they're saying if you shoulder it, it's a redesign. Right. Which just, it's not, Right. It's not like you broke a piece of the plastic off or unscrewed a couple screws and screwed something else on. That's a redesign. Right. And then it'd be like, well, it's still a pistol brace even though it's like clearly not, Yeah. That would be a redesign.
A lot of times what people would do is shove something in the hole in the back, like foam or something, and that's a redesign.
Right. I could see them saying that's a redesign.
Yeah, it is because
but the mere putting it on your shoulder is not a redesign.
No, it isn't.
The 80% lowers.
Oh yeah. So what happened was the first round of this was they raided Polymer80, and they over an alleged buy, build, shoot kit that they sold. So they sold the complete kit, which included an 80% receiver and all the components needed to make it into a firearm. And the description of the product said that it could be done in minutes, you'll be shooting in minutes. The ATF determined that in itself is a firearm because you could assemble it and make it fire, which I don't know how because it's an 80% receiver. The same receiver that they sold just solo, without the kit, they put in this kit, and now the ATF said, oh, nope, that's a handgun. You sold handguns without, yada, 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 etc. So they were going to people's houses and saying, look, based on the records from the company, we know you bought this, hand it over to us or we're going to get a warrant and come back. So people gave it to them because, some people don't like, I wouldn't want to be raided, that's not good. So
what exactly made this illegal all of a sudden?
Exactly. Thank you. That's the fucking question.
So what did they put in there that triggered this?
Apparently the ATF said you could assemble this and fire it, even though it's an 80%. They said the kit itself, the whole kit that they sell, they say allegedly is a firearm, as opposed to just a regular 80% receiver just being a receiver.
Why? Because it had all the parts in the box?
Dude, your guess is as good as mine.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Am I missing something? Because I don't get it.
Exactly. That's what it is. Nobody fucking knows. They just decided to go after them and tell them that's a firearm. Exactly. You do fucking look it up.
I know. I've seen like posts about it, but I'm just thinking like it just doesn't make sense.
It's an 80% receiver.
Right.
It's not completed.
Right.
They sell the components with it
to complete it as a full kit.
And they said that alone. They said it's too easy to assemble into a working firearm, so therefore that constitutes a firearm.
What if you bought the 80% lower? Plus, and the parts from a different company, and it got all sent at the same time.
They're not going after the sole 80% receiver from the same company, just the kit.
Because all the parts come in the same box.
I tell you, and this is what we're dealing with.
That makes no sense. It's a fucking thought crime.
Exactly.
Dude, so wait, if I bought the 80% lower from the company and then from the same company but separately on a different order bought the rest of the parts, totally okay.
Yeah.
But because they all come in the same box, it's not okay.
Yep, they said
shit makes no sense.
Yeah, dude, look it up.
I've seen. I'm just.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm getting at. So now this is why people are kind of annoyed with Trump just saying, look, you're still president. This is going on under your watch. Like, what's going on here? And, some people think he kind of checked out,
Yeah, I mean, he's done.
Or he's trying to fight the battle of getting reelected or claiming that the election was stolen. So the Biden-Harris administration is already taking steps to infringe on your rights. Now, this happened, like I said, after November, after the election.
Yeah.
They were waiting for this. They targeted people like Polymer80. They also targeted, I think, one or two other places in regards to the same thing. And, what are we to do about it? The ATF shows up at your door. I mean, some people say, I'm going to call my lawyer, get a warrant. Okay. Yeah. And then what? They come back the next day with like an MRAP and like 20 dudes.
No, that's not how it works.
I don't know, man. Listen, they got to get a warrant, or that you could just voluntarily hand it over.
I'm not even sure that a judge would issue that warrant. I'm not going to lie to you. Tell me, what are you issuing the warrant for?
Allegedly because you bought a firearm without...
Yeah, but it doesn't... They don't just be giving out warrants like they're fucking bottles of water at a race, dude.
I know, but some people, if presented with that threat, they'd just be like, dude, I'm out.
Presented with a threat.
And that's what it is. It's intimidation.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. So, what are you supposed to do at that point? The kit was like a couple $100. I'd rather not deal with the headache. And it's bullshit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think... obviously, I don't know. I'm not an ATF agent. I don't think they would have gotten the warrant for it.
I don't know, man. You'd be surprised.
They bought something that really isn't a judge is going to look at that. Unless they went... I don't know.
Did you pull up a picture of it?
Of what?
The buy, build, shoot kit?
I just see an 80% AR receiver kit.
Oh, it's not a receiver kit. It's a handgun kit.
Let me look.
It's for...
I just clicked like any... the pistol frame kits?
Yeah, Polymer80.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, those are pretty cool.
80, yeah. So...
Oh, like $150, $160, $170. Yeah.
So, again, it's just one of these things now that they're coming after things that were deemed legal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They were deemed legal already. So, if someone said to a judge, "Hey, we're doing X, Y, and Z," you'd probably like, "Wait a minute! Like they bought this legally." I don't think they'd be really getting any warrants for that. I would certainly hope a judge would see right past that.
I don't know, man. I have no idea.
I hope.
Yeah. So I'm actually pulling up an article here real quick from the personal defense world. The ATF raids Polymer80 over buy, build, shoot kits, suspecting the company of multiple alleged violations. The ATF reportedly conducted a raid on Polymer80, becoming the latest attack in the gun industry. So the Wall Street Journal report claims the ATF raided the Polymer80 facility in Nevada on Thursday. This was a few weeks ago. This was in early December. But we're just kind of talking about it now. The report further alleges that the target wasn't the 80% AR or Glock receivers Polymer80 is known for. Instead, the ATF went over the buy, build, shoot kits.
This is great.
What?
CNN article. Feds raid, quote, ghost gun maker whose products say they are...
This is a ghost gun.
Let me read the whole thing.
Right.
Said they are linked to, quote, hundreds of crimes, and...
This is a ghost gun.
It's a ghost gun. This is what CNN has said. This is a ghost gun. That's why they're going after him. And of course,
30 caliber clip.
The 30 caliber clip ghost gun. No, but that's what this article says, that they raid P80 because they have, quote, ghost guns. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. So
it's fucked up.
And they're using this kind of as a scapegoat because
the buy, build, shoot kit.
Yeah.
With a 10-round mag is $600.
Yep.
So it's pretty much got everything that you would ever need to put the whole gun together, and you just put it together.
Yeah. Well, you have to complete the frame. It's an 80% frame, so as it stands, it shouldn't be a firearm.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So they're pretty much saying, like, look, it's basically a gun minus like 3 screws, and
no, you have to Dremel. No, I know.
I'm looking at the parts.
The inside of the receiver, you have to Dremel out for the barrel channel. You have to drill a couple of holes and complete the rail sections.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
it comes with the tools, everything you need.
So, but it's still technically not a firearm.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, from their point of view, playing devil's advocate. You pretty much have the entire... It would be almost as if...
But it wouldn't even work. If you tried to put the parts together onto the frame, it wouldn't work because the frame is not complete.
It's got like a whole jig and everything. You just like fucking...
Yeah, you need to Dremel out, file out, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what you do.
I mean, it's great. And you know what? I love it from like... from a rights standpoint.
Yeah.
You see, you have a company basically going, well, we can't sell you X, so we're going to sell you like X.5.
And in most jurisdictions, it's not illegal to manufacture your own firearm.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not though, right? Federally illegal to manufacture.
No, it is. It's legal. It's
totally legal. That's what I'm saying.
Federally legal.
So then this shouldn't even be a problem anyway.
Right. The only thing is that
it's a handgun.
certain states.
Right.
But basically, what politicians are trying to do now is scapegoat these, quote, ghost guns,
right,
and say that they're showing up on crime scenes. They're the problem in the country. A felon can get one with no background check, But still, the overwhelming majority of firearms used in crimes are ones that were stolen, purchased illegally, purchased legally and then entered its way into the black market. This still represents a smaller percentage of the firearms used in crimes. So
This is a ghost gun.
thanks. So instead of trying to target, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, it shouldn't matter what type of firearm is used in a crime. It's the fact that a firearm is used in a crime. So, if a person shouldn't have a firearm, they shouldn't have a firearm. And they say, oh, well, it's too easy for criminals to get guns. Well, listen, they're going to get them one way or another.
I'm sorry, but criminals aren't buying this and making guns. I don't think.
They do.
You think criminals are buying these things and putting them together and making the guns rather than just stealing it or buying one from another state?
They do show up in crime scenes, and I'm not going to lie about that. They do show up in crime scenes. It's kind of unfortunate, but they do. To somebody who's a criminal, this playing devil's advocate, this represents a perfect thing. Oh shit, I could buy this anonymously, no serial numbers, just do a little bit of work, and boom, I got a firearm. Okay, you're still breaking the law though.
Yeah.
So the law should be a deterrent for any person with some good moral sense to be like, you know what? I shouldn't do that. But criminals don't follow laws.
Yeah.
So that's their justification, like the ghost guns. They're trying to ban them. Yep, hit that button,
This
John.
is a ghost gun.
They're trying to ban them based on the fact that some criminals use them. Well, criminals use firearms. So by that logic, then they could be able to ban all firearms. And this is where the brace issue and the 80% receiver issue are going to be a big point of contention in the Biden-Harris alleged administration. And I joke, but come on, let's be real here. The election was just really fucking hinky. I don't know if it's 100% legit, and maybe there could be some sort of way that Trump could become president, but right now it's not looking good. No. That's why I say allegedly.
Yeah,
but that's going to be a big point of contention. They can't go after assault weapons because they know that it's not going to happen. I mean, they theoretically could. Kamala was saying if she was president within her first 100 days of office, she would have assault weapons ban, put in place through executive action.
Please.
Right. And that's not going to happen. An assault weapons ban is not popular. It doesn't carry the same weight as it used to. That's why they changed it from assault weapon to weapon of war.
Weapons of war.
Weapons of war, which we did an episode on, by the way. You should go back and listen to that.
We did. It's a good episode.
Actual weapons of war.
Yeah.
So they're changing their tactics, they're changing their strategy, and now they're changing what they go after because ghost guns and sound evil. Well, they say a company is making them and selling them to people. Ooh, well, we need to stop that. We need to go after them. People are circumventing the NFA by putting braces on their firearms. No, they're not. They're making pistols, which aren't purview to the NFA. Although, John, little known fact, in 1934, when the NFA was originally when it was originally written, they wanted to get pistols on the NFA. Because they deemed them to be too dangerous for the public to have. But luckily they didn't.
Well, we've gone over, the statistics and everything.
Yeah.
And when we were doing, I guess, the weapons of war, the assault, I forgot what we were looking at. What we found was that there's less than 300 deaths caused by rifles.
Of any kind.
Yeah. And here they are trying to ban things that cause only 300 deaths when handguns are responsible for the rest of them. It's amazing.
I know, and of those handguns, the overwhelming majority are not, quote, ghost guns.
Right.
So, I mean, they're going after, they're setting up the straw man for their argument. So, I don't know, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I think that people really, thankfully, stepped up and were vocal and said, no, go screw yourself.
Yeah.
Now, as far as braced firearms in New York, there are some great options. One that I really had my eye on, oh man, I was in the gun store, when was it? It was a while ago. And they had, a few months ago, and they had a Black Aces Tactical, like a super short semi-automatic. I think it was their Pro Series Mini, and it had a brace on it. Now, the brace basically aided you in firing it one-handed because it's a semi-automatic shotgun, quote-unquote. It was a firearm, but shotgun. And it aided you in firing it one-handed. It was super short, semi-automatic. I think it held like 3 or 4 shots in it. But it was super cool. Now, without the brace, that gun would not be legal because it'd be too short. It'd be considered a short-barreled shotgun or an AOW because it doesn't have a stock. It's too short. Doesn't meet the federal length requirement. So certain firearms that you can have in New York, thanks to braces. The Remington TAC-14. Remington made one, and the same thing with the Mossberg Shockwave with a factory brace on it because they want you to be able to hold that firearm with one hand, quote, and shoot it. So, there are options. The Ruger, some AR pistols in New York have braces, whether they're fixed mag for compliance for civilians or whether you could have one as a Leo with a detachable mag. So there are pistols and firearms in New York that do use a brace that you might not think about. Like I said, the shotguns. So, it is definitely a fight worth fighting in that aspect, because then if they could change the regulation of it, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
John and I were talking a little bit earlier about the bump stocks, the machine guns. The ATF classified a bump stock as a machine gun, a piece of plastic that slides back and forth. They classified that as a machine gun.
Yeah, well, they were saying it modifies how the gun operates or how the gun functions, when in reality it doesn't.
Right.
I mean, changing how fast you could pull the trigger, which essentially is what a bump stock does,
Right.
is not changing the functionality of the firearm itself.
Right.
It's not.
So
you can bump fire a gun off of your belt loop with your thumb. Like, does that mean now pants are illegal because you know what I mean? You got bump pants on, like
pants.
You can't have belt loops anymore because it modified the gun. It doesn't make sense.
Right. They said it was a device that could turn a semi-automatic into a fully automatic, and therefore that device is now classified as a machine gun. Which, again, is one thing that people took issue with President Trump, was that he didn't stop that. He didn't say, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. He let that one go. He conceded to that issue, I guess, for some political reasons or whatever. But basically, the ATF then can define accessories to firearms as machine guns. Not even parts, not even trigger components, not even any bolt components. They could define an accessory as a machine gun.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that they can't redefine a pistol brace as a stock, even though the ATF isn't in the industry of regulating accessories. They only regulate accessories when it's on an actual firearm and it changes the quote intent of the firearm. So the ATF isn't going to regulate a forward grip unless that forward grip is on a pistol. Then it becomes an AOW because it changes the definition of firing with two hands.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more I could say on this. I mean, it's really one of these things where the ATF kind of gets a little nutty.
Yeah.
And it kind of just...
What I think basically is that they're butthurt. They're butthurt because they were outsmarted. Maybe they thought that people were really that stupid that they wouldn't just shoulder it. Maybe they didn't think it would be an issue at the time. Maybe just things have changed and now they care more. And now they're kind of shit out of luck, and so they're trying. At the end of the day, I'm really glad that everybody who did stepped up and made their voice heard. And the only reason why you could still have a pistol brace right now is because you made your voice heard. Guaranteed. If no one said anything and just went quietly into the night, that would be it.
Yeah.
But you made your voice heard.
Yeah, it affects a lot of people. It affects millions of people. And I'm sure literal millions of people have braced firearms of some sort.
And I'm sure there were millions of people who just wouldn't even have realized until one day they were just like, oh, that shit's illegal.
Yeah.
Like, what, it is? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
I know, man.
Well, if you don't have anything else to really add, I mean, you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, the news has been out for a little while.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give my opinion on it and maybe get people thinking of how this has been going on for a long time.
Right.
Think about the regulatory aspects of it. Think about the impact that we have in New York. Because, a lot of times you see a cool AR pistol and you're like, oh, I can never have that in New York. But a brace, they're on shotguns. They're on other firearms, which we have in New York. So, I mean, it does affect us to some degree, man.
Yeah, I think this would also just fall into, like, another one of those mass non-compliance situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, this is... aside from being butthurt, what it probably really is the ATF was like, technically you can shoulder, but, we just will ignore it. And then everyone just started doing it and flaunting it, being like, haha, fuck you. We circumvented the law. Now the ATF is like, well, you know what? You want to say fuck you? We're going to fuck you right back.
And now with the new administration coming in, possibly,
they're emboldened.
They're emboldened in it. And
they were probably told, I'm sure somebody somewhere was told, you either do this or you're fired. Yeah. And that's someone's career, They got to put, and that's the problem with politicians have too much power, man.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. The ATF is not in the business of making laws. They should just enforce laws.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, man. So that's pretty much that.
Yeah, that's it for this. I mean, it was a little bit shorter of an episode. Yeah. That's not a problem. But if anyone has any comments about this, definitely let us know. Tell us whatever, what your thoughts are, what you've seen, what you've heard.
Yeah, for sure.
And we would love to talk about
Yeah,
it.
if you have a braced firearm in New York, you want to talk about maybe how it
Yeah.
helps you, how it affects you.
Yeah.
Feel free to comment.
Yeah, for sure. Other than that, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. Check out the other podcasts on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, everywhere else you can find podcasts. If you can't find us on your podcast platform, let us know. We will make sure we are on your podcast platform. That's it for today, and as always,
Don't be a turkey.
we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode of the New York Gun Guys podcast. If you guys enjoyed the show, check out our previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find a podcast. We have new episodes every Monday and Friday, so check us out. We're also on Instagram and Facebook at NYGunGuys. Check us out. Give us a like, give us a follow, share it. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, stay safe.